So Manchester United lost the other night against Copenhagen. However, for the first time this season, United lost, and there was actually a sense of positivity. And that was because it maybe felt like for the first time this season, Erik ten Hag was stumbling upon the solution to the problem at Manchester United. And I think the best way to really highlight this potential solution moving forward, is to look at Manchester United against Copenhagen the first time around compared to the second time around. So this is the first time around. We can see a shape in possession which basically really lacks options for the player on the ball. So we've got Dalot on the bottom, on the ball. We've got Harry Maguire and Raphael Varane pretty deep as well. This sort of looks like a 2-3 shape, although we can see the left back is about to push forward, so it's going to become more of a 3-1. But we can see Bruno Fernandes and Scott McTominay both pushing further forward. And the reason that this happens, if we go to a tactical board, is because, like I said, United have often been in this season so far a 3-1 shape, where players are too far forward and things are incredibly disconnected. However, what we saw in midweek this week was a different story. We saw more of a 2-4 shape, and instantly what this has done for United in that game is given connection points in possession. So the question is this the solution for Ten Hag? And actually, why was it so much better? Well, let's go back to that game from the other day and have a look at it. So before we continue into the video, a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, JerseyFIFA.com, the home of all of the greatest football kits. Whether that be the new latest releases or the old classic ones like this, Jersey FIFA has something for everyone, and now you can check it out yourself using the link in the description down below. And also make sure to use code JerseyFIFA for 10% off when you order. So we're now on Once Video Analyzer Pro, which is a really good video analysis software which you guys can check out using the link in the description. Highly recommend it. But what we can see here is that United in this game are now in a 2-4-1 shape. And what I want to do is compare the number of people, a number of players which are deep facing the ball rather than running in behind. So again, if we go back to this picture, this was the first game. We've got Fernandes pushing forward, McTominay pushing forward, the left back quite high. Dalot's genuine only option on the ball here is to go back to Raphael Varane. Whereas if we go to this game, we can suddenly see Harry Maguire on the ball could go to Wan-Bissaka, he could go to McTominay, he could go to Dalot at left back, or he can go across to his centre-back partner. Now this is 1 minute 49 into the game, and this is actually the first goal. For me, the best goal scored under Erik ten Hag at Manchester United. So what we see is initially this 2-4 shape, Bruno Fernandes in space. As it plays on, Manchester United kind of moves the ball about, nice and patient, and I think that's the most important thing here. So patient, in fact, that they actually go even all the way back, to the goalkeeper. Now, again, this isn't something which United have really done this season. United on the ball, particularly with Casemiro, but also Bruno Fernandes, have really wanted to pump the ball forward as quickly as possible, leading to turnovers. In this game now, we can see that this isn't the case, because instead United have gone back to Onana, and they're going to use his ball-playing ability. Now again, United remain patient. This is about 10 seconds later. United move the ball forward, and we can see it's kind of a 2-4 shape, or you could argue it is a 3-3 shape. But again, we've got 6 players in this deeper phase ready to receive the ball. And we can see that Maguire has more than one passing option, which is good news. It makes it much easier to keep the ball. We've also got players in half spaces in here. It's genuinely a good structure. Now, as things play out and it continues, United are again patient. We go all the way back to Onana in goal. And what this does is it just drags Copenhagen onto United a little bit more. And that's going to open up a little bit of space. As it plays on, 1 second, he's going to pass the ball to Harry Maguire. Now again, the important thing is that United remain patient. They're keeping the ball. And again, we've got our 2-4 shape. So United are using, initially in deeper phases, a less fluid structure. But that's a positive thing. So again, this is kind of a 3-3, but it's going to become a 2-4 as Dalot pushes forward. It plays out, but what we can see now that by using this shape is that we have stretched the opposition's mid-block. So let's go back to the tactical board real quick and look at the two different systems. So when we play with a 3-1 or even a 3-2 like someone like Manchester City does, if you are the opposition, the team in white, you're trying to kind of cut off passes for these deep players, you can see that you can do it. You can cut passes off with quite a narrow shape. Let's say Maguire's got the ball. You know, we can cover Wan-Bissaka with quite a narrow winger here between two players. We can cut off these two central midfielders if we just push someone forward. You know, we can be really quite narrow and compact. And of course, what do we always say? Defensively, you want to make the pitch smaller, narrow and compact. However, if we turn it to more of a 2-4 shape, bring Dalot into this position, push Eriksen here, McTominay here, push Wan-Bissaka further forward and also wider, the same for Harry Maguire like this, suddenly, these narrow players now cannot cover these wider options. So suddenly these players move wider. That's a huge shift. It might look like quite a small thing, this player moving from here to here defensively. From here to here defensively. But if you think about it, we've now massively, and I genuinely mean massively, stretched the opposition's mid-block. And I don't even think we saw it in full effect in this game, because Copenhagen were often in a diamond out of possession, with a false 9 dropping deeper. But I think in games where we might see more of a 4-3-3 or even a 4-4-2 out of possession, this is really a way to stretch the pitch. It's also almost a bit more basic. Back to basics a little bit. It's much easier for the fullbacks to understand because they're not being asked to constantly rotate into midfield, to invert. They're playing a more traditional fullback position where they're holding the width. And like I said, this has the effect of stretching the pitch, making it difficult for these Copenhagen players to cover Dalot here and Wan-Bissaka at the bottom. We can see both United fullbacks are actually free and in a ton of space. Now, eventually the ball's going to be moved about. It goes to Dalot. Dalot plays the ball back to Johnny Evans. Here we see a bit of, to be fair, individual quality. Johnny Evans takes on his man, which I think is why he was started in this game. He takes on his man. He does very well. He then moves the ball forward to Diogo Dalot. Diogo Dalot carries the ball forward. And now what United have done is made the pitch bigger. So they've been patient on the ball. They've taken their time. They've taken extra touches. They've kept it slow because United have 6 base players. So every player has always had a passing option. An option to just play it 3 yards to the side rather than pumping it forward, causing United to slow down, rotate and be patient. When you do that, teams come and press you. We've seen Brighton do it for the last couple of seasons now really effectively. Copenhagen now think they can come press. And when you've got a good ball carrier like Dalot, it makes space. He carries the ball forward. Bruno Fernandes gets the ball in space. Plays a really good switch pass out to Marcus Rashford. This touch is beautiful from Rashford to kill the ball. It's absolutely beautiful. We can now see that Wan-Bissaka is going to make the overlapping run into this position here, and suddenly this looks like a counter-attack. If we go back just 2 pictures real quick to Bruno Fernandes, this looks like a... Oh, apologies for the glitch. This now looks like a transition, like a counter-attack, but United have actually had the ball for over a minute here. That, ladies and gentlemen, is an artificial transition. If you want to know more about artificial transitions, you can go back to an earlier video in the summer. But this is what we thought Ten Hag wanted to do this season. And we see it here. Marcus Rashford gets the ball. Wan-Bissaka makes a really good underlapping run to stretch the defence. It's brilliantly timed. Rashford does well. Wan-Bissaka holds the ball up. Scott McTominay inverts, underlaps, make a great run. Wan-Bissaka plays the ball to him. Scott McTominay squares it. Rasmus Højlund puts the ball into the back of the net. There weren't that many players in the box, was there now? Rasmus Højlund puts the ball into the back of the net. It's a good goal. I think, for me, it's the best goal scored under Erik Ten Hag. And it all comes about because of the 2-4 shape, of course, being a change in structure, but also a change in philosophy, a change in tempo, a change in decisions on the ball. Because there's an extra player, you can keep it simpler. When you only have, for example, one deeper midfielder, and again, Fernandes and McTominay pushing high, like we saw here. When we see this, and you get the ball as the central midfielder, one of the only options is forward. You have to shunt it forward, and that's why United have struggled a lot this season, losing the ball far too often. When you drop another player in here, suddenly you have that extra option on the ball, and it allows you to slow it down. As you then go backwards, the opposition think that they can steal some yards. But when players naturally, because they're all human, they're not robots, they naturally move at different paces. As they try and come press you, if this player, for example, is a lot slower than what this one is, this guy gets out quick, but this guy gets out slow, suddenly you now create spaces, and that's what we saw for that goal. Johnny Evans with a really good turn, Dalot does the same, and Bruno Fernandes was in a massive space, and United turn it into an artificial transition, which is absolutely incredible. The other thing with this shape is it gets more out of Bruno Fernandes. Now, one of Bruno Fernandes' problems in recent weeks has been that he's been out wide, and you're never going to get the best out of him there anyway, in the best of situations. But even in the middle recently, he hasn't been very good. And I think some of that, at times, has been a lack of space. So let's say you play with a 2-3 shape, or even a 3-2. Let's put it into more of a 3-2 actually, because that's a modern structure which everyone seems to like. So let's go to a 3-2 and ignore the personnel for a second. But let's say you're the opposition, you want to defend in a 4-4-2 like this. So you're going to put your front 2 on the 2 United midfielders, and you're going to put your 2 deeper midfielders on McTominay and Bruno Fernandes. So it's man for man. But what we can see is that if Bruno Fernandes wants to move about and impact the play, there's 4 United players on this line here. So there's a lack of places he can move. He can move here, or he can move here, but that's about it. Suddenly, however, if we instead build possession with more of a 2-4 shape, and drop McTominay in here, suddenly Bruno Fernandes has this whole area that he can move into. He's got a lot more freedom, a lot more license to get on the ball. And if we can go back to it real quick and go back a few slides, we saw the effect of that in the goal. Granted, yes, in a deeper phase, but we still saw Bruno Fernandes on the ball in this deeper position, getting on the ball where he's moved. He's been given the license to pick up a different area because Eriksen is deeper here, Scott McTominay is a little bit deeper here, giving Bruno Fernandes more room to operate. And also, initially he's starting higher, which does help with ball retention. That's why I think this tactic from Erik ten Hag genuinely must now be stuck with. Keep the tactic. In terms of the ceiling and how you improve it even further, there's lots of ways you can do it. At times you can operate in more of a 4-2-2 and push Garnacho and Rashford really high like this. This allows you to still overload the midfield with someone like Bruno Fernandes, but still hold a lot of pace out wide with Rashford and Garnacho. That's an option. Another option is to move 4-2-3-1 or 2-4-3-1. Get these wide forwards into narrow positions and fullbacks flying round. There's lots of potential. You can also change it to a back three at times as well. If Wan-Bissaka goes forward, but the other fullback stays a little bit deeper, you can kind of do a blend of the two structures. There's lots of potential that from this 2-4 base, United can have a lot of success. And again, the main reason that this shape has more success is because players are connected. They're closer to each other, which means you have more passing options, which means it's easier to cycle and keep the ball, which means you draw the opposition onto you, and then you can go forward quickly. And that is quite exciting. So Manchester United may have lost the other night, but they might have just gained something here, which could help them over the course of the season. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. But apart from that, I am finished for today's video. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.